Hi YouTube, it's Miniforce Wilderness. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the one and only Korean toy review of this month. Yes, normally I do 2 Korean toy reviews a month, but unfortunately last week's video, the figure that I was going to review for it arrived a little too late. I've got it right here. Yeah, this would have been the subject of the review last week. Hello Carbots Mini INT. Bought it off eBay. It cost me about 25 quid. Got it shipped over. When it arrived in the UK, it mingled in in a warehouse near the airport where it got shipped in for over a week, and then they shipped it forwards, and it arrived at my local sorting office just down the road on the Saturday morning, like early hours of the Saturday morning of the 18th. But Royal Mail decided not to deliver it on the Saturday morning. They decided to deliver it on Monday the 20th. So it arrived a couple of days too late for me to do a review on it. So I'll be doing the review on this thing next week. It'll be a small stuff review because, I mean, it's basically a Legends figure, so it's not really worth a full-blown 20-minute review. But I'll be doing a review on it next week. So next month you're going to get 3 Korean toy reviews. So if you're wondering where that was, that's the reasons why. Anyway, so my other Korean toy arrived. You've seen it in an unboxing video. Would have reviewed it earlier, but I had to wait for the unboxing video to get done first before I could do the review on the toy because of, continuity reasons. And I could easily have reviewed this figure last week and done that little bot this week. But anyway, it is what it is. Right. So, I've decided, well, I like to collect these Korean toys, mostly Hello Carbot figures. I also dabble in, figures from other Korean toy lines, like, the Tobot toy line, Turning Mech Card, Robot Trains, what else? Anyway, there's a bunch of them. But there's also Miniforce. Now, over the years, I've picked up quite a few Miniforce figures. And Miniforce has been rolling on for a good few years. They had the original Miniforce series, and then they went on to Miniforce X, and then Penta X, and then they went on to the Super Dino Power, and now they're on to Animaltron. So it's basically kind of like a rip-off of Power Rangers, largely. But previously, I'd bought some figures from the Miniforce Penta X toy line. And they were these guys. So I got Penta X Volt and Penta X Lucy. Now I did reviews on these back in the day. Got them in according to the information on the bottom of the box, these toys came out in 2019, which is I think about the time I got them. Did reviews on them back in the day. The reason I got those two, because out of the 5 figures that make up the Pentatron Combiner, those were the 2 that I liked the look of the most. The others, well, after the the disappointment of the previous Miniforce Combiner, the Commando X machine from the original Penta X line, that thing's an atrocity in plastic. It's really, really bad, and a lot of the bots that make up that Combiner are also pretty bad, especially Max. Max bot from the Miniforce X line is absolutely horrendous, and it put me off getting the Penta X version of Max bot. But then I looked at the others. I looked at the Sammy, the helicopter, and I think, oh, that doesn't look very good. And then they had a 5th member of the team called Leo, and he joined the Miniforce team, and he got a tank. And I wasn't interested in that either, so I just got those 2, and that was that. But more recently, as I've got the first 2 combiners from the Miniforce series, it stands to reason that I'd like to get the 3rd one, and so the Pentatron Combiner. So I'd already got 2 parts of it, and I decided to go and get the rest of them. Now the problem is the original Pentatron Combiner is made up of 5 leader class scale bots, and it's a big bulky thing, and they're not making any more of them. What ones they've made are out there in the world, but more recently they've made a reissue of the Pentatron Combiner, but they call it the version T, where they've scaled it down from, let's say, a leader class Combiner to a Voyager class. It's basically the engineering's the same. They've just scaled it down a little bit to make it a little bit more manageable. Because, like I said, the original Penta X combiner is, like I said, it's a very big, bulky, heavy thing, you know, and so they've scaled it down. Now when you go looking for these figures now, all you see on the Korean sites is these version T figures, which are not compatible with the figures that I've got. So I'm going to struggle to get the remaining members of the team. There are a couple of options open to me, but I decided to have a look on the usual places last month, most notably G-Market. And fortunately, I found somebody selling the original Leo bot for a reasonably cheap price. So I went ahead and bought it. And here he is. So this is Miniforce Penta X Leo bot. And quick look at the box. Now, this is the original packaging. It's got quite a small window, a lot of artwork or graphics of the character on the box, and they have this specific logo here, this very rectangular, sort of Penta X bot logo down the bottom. Now, if you look on the other boxes, they've got it as well. So when you're buying the Korean originals, that's what you got to look for, because the new version T figures have got a different designed box, and they've got a redesigned, sort of Penta X bot logo on the bottom. But anyway, it's a particularly large, chunky box. Artwork on the side, pictures of the combiner on the back, showing Lucy, Max, Sammy, Volt, and Leo, who make up the 5 parts of the Penta X combiner. And obviously, it's got all the usual product information on the bottom that is of interest to certain individuals. So, anyway, the figure. Now, it turns into a blue tank, a very dark, sort of midnight blue tank with some yellow trims. It's got a lot of nice mould detail down the sides, as you can see there. Look, you can see it's got lots of moulded detail down the side, lots of grills and handrails and armour panels and stuff like that. And you look on the turret on the top, and it's got hatches and something that could be a smoke discharger. I don't know, and it's a H tank because it's got 4 tracks. It's got 2 small tracks at the front, 2 short tracks at the back. So it's just what referred to as a H tank. Now the design of this tank is kind of unusual. The turret, if it is a turret, is right the way back on the hull. It's got quite a long gun that sticks out the front, and this is not so much a tank. This is more either a self-propelled gun or a tank destroyer. It's a tank designed to either, fire lob projectiles long distance, or it's designed to take out other armoured vehicles at short to medium range. So it's not a tank in the greatest sense of the word. It's more because of the design of it, with the turret at the back and the long gun. It's more of a self-propelled gun, or like a tank destroyer. Anyway, so now you come around to the back, and you've got a lot of junk hanging off the back. Now, these are the combiner parts. So on the back of this tank is all the combiner bits. You've got the 2 combiner fists and the combiner foot. So this guy forms a leg, and he's got all this junk in the trunk, so to speak. So his tank mode is a thing. It has little wheels. It will roll. There's not much you can do with it in this mode. The gun barrel is collapsible, but I think that's more for the robot gimmick more than anything. Apart from that, the turret does not move. The gun, you can angle it up slightly, but it's on a peg that just sticks in there. Very limited to what you can do with it. And these things on the back kind of move around. You can remove them, to clean the back of the tank up a little bit. I mean, they don't really do anything in tank or robot mode. They're just extra kibble pieces, so you know, you can quite happily take them off and just cast them aside until you need them for the combiner. So anyway, the tank mode, somewhat unusual. It's a H tank. It's got the turret at the back, if it is a turret, long gun, and it's in the configuration of either a self-propelled gun or a tank destroyer. So, right, transformation into robot mode. Bit of parts forming on this guy. The turret comes off as a single piece, and the gun detaches from the turret. So you end up with these two parts. These become the gun and the shield for the robot mode going forwards. Now, so this piece, which is the foot for combiner mode, just turn that round and fold it down his back. Then pull the arms out of the shoulders, angle them forwards, straighten out the fists, and then pull out the arms, and then that's the arms done. So we've got the top half of the bot done. Now for the legs. So flip these panels up. Well, you don't have to flip them up, but well, yeah, you can, right? So flip them up and then sort of fold the legs out. Bring the feet forwards. Now you've got to pull these kneecaps out. They're very tricky to get. You need good nails for this, or some sort of device to get in here to pull them out, because they're not easy. Then there's this other combiner piece which just folds around the back, and then you're supposed to collapse the waist. And then finally, you can see he's got this gap here, this big chunky gap. Now that's there's a slider mechanism built into his chest. There's a little button in the middle of his chest. You press it in, and then you collapse the chest. And it's not easy. There we go. So you collapse that, and there we have Leobot in his robot mode. Now you can armour him up with his pieces that you took off before, so you can get the turret goes on there as a shield, and the gun plugs onto his arm like that, and you can shorten it, and then it becomes an arm. So there is Leobot in his robot mode, and he looks all right. He looks okay. Looks pretty quite beefy. Again, a lot of the dark blue going on, a bit of black, some grey bits, and the yellow highlights. Looks pretty cool. It's got a reasonable head sculpt. It's got a bit of a head going on. Oh yeah, I forgot to open these things out as well. You've got these missile launchers on his shoulders that you've got to open out. There we go. That's better. So yeah, his robot mode. It's a thing. It looks okay. Going around the back, obviously you've got the combiner kibble, you've got the foot and the combiner port just hanging out around the back. Has got. You can plug his weapon, if you call it the turret casing a weapon. You can plug them into his arms. You can put the other combiner bits on his back. They just sort of plug in like so they can just hang off his back. They do impede the articulation on the arm somewhat, so it's best to remove them when you're going for the articulation. Yeah, he looks okay. Aesthetically, he's got a decent amount of moulded detail on various parts. Looks looks pretty cool. Decent looking bot. And then we get to the articulation, and this is where things fall apart, so to speak. Now, VoltBot and LucyBot were all right. I quite like them. They were pretty decent figures. They had a decent amount of articulation, not the greatest. You know, they were just typical Korean toys, but they had more articulation than some of the previous sort of Miniforce toys that I've handled. So I was quite impressed with those. This, not so much. Now, he has got a little bit of head movement, but because his head is nestled in a channel on top of his shoulders, it's just sort of blocked in and only moves so far from side to side. Now the arms, right? Soft ratchet. Like I said, they hits this thing on the back, which you can remove to clear some space, and then it will go all the way around. Goes out, one click. Now, when you've got the turret shield plugged into his arm, it locks his elbow up, so you can't use his elbow because it slots in to the gap where the elbow should be. So if you pull this off, it then frees up the elbow for a little bit of elbow motion. It almost goes to 90 degrees. Again, 2 clicks, soft ratchet. Now the fists also have a transformation joint where they fold up like that, which could be used for other things. So like I said, it goes around like that, goes in and out, goes like that. No bicep swivel. Then we get down to the legs, and this is where things get interesting. Now, if you look at the leg, you can see the thigh has got like a squared off chunk, and it fits inside this sort of rectangular section inside, you know, the hip. And as a result, it moves back okay, but it won't move forwards because it jams up against this. Okay. I mean, you can see it there, look, see? It's hitting here. So you've got no forward motion on the legs. That's a bit of a disappointment. However, there is a workaround. These guys, you saw in the transformation that you collapse his hips down. Well, if you pull them back out, like so, that then frees up his leg for a lot more articulation. Gives him a somewhat wide stance when he's standing, and these are stupidly tight to pull out. Well, this one is. Just give me a moment. There we go. So it gives him quite a very wide stance. Also, I think the leg joints are really weird on this guy. They're not, because you can see. Let's take that gun off. You can see his legs aren't completely straight. They're sort of angled back slightly, and he will stand up at that. But you know, if you try to straighten his legs out some more, you know, you just can't get anywhere with it. He has got double knees because of the transformation, so you know he can do a full curl with his leg if he wants. No thigh swivel. The feet, you've just got the foot that just ratchets backwards and forwards. Again, it's got that angled cut so that you know he can stand on a flat surface or a neutral A stance. So he's got that going on. He looks okay, but like I said, the articulation's not all that. It doesn't really do him any favours, the articulation on this guy. He struggles to pull off any meaningful dynamic poses because of, you know, the articulation that he's got. Now he does have another mode. He has the Combiner mode, which I can go into very quickly, I suppose. So you kind of collapse it back into tank mode. I think you have to pull the waste back out again. There we go. Right. All right. Then you bring your foot round. So I just need a... Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's what you do. You put the turret back on, and that covers up his head, because his head's visible. You see in combiner mode. And I believe that's his foot mode. So yeah, so basically you put him back into tank mode. You sort of expose the combiner port, and then you just fold the legs in a little bit. And he's got the foot, which acts, you know, is on an angle so that he's got an A stance going on. So that's his foot mode, that's his leg mode. I don't have Max, so I can't plug anything into him yet. So I've got the other two figures. I've got Lucy, who's the other leg, and I've got Volt, who's one of the arms. I just need to get Max and Sammy. Now, I just want to put this in at the end of the video. I'm going to try and get hold of these figures next month. They're my planned Korean toy purchases for next month. But I won't be buying them off Korean sites. And this is the reason why. Looking for Max and Sammy, this is what I'm faced with. You've got this. And this. So you look at the prices those guys are going for. Now, Max is going for like 70 something quid, which is reasonable, but when you take into account you've got to add a £30+ shipping fee towards to that, it pushes it over £100. And don't get me started on Sammy. Sammy's is like a, well, you saw the price of Sammy. If you add the £30 to that thing's going to end up like 155, 160 quid for Sammy. He's not worth it. They're not worth paying those prices for them. And now, the Miniforce Penta X toys have been reissued in China. Well, the Miniforce figure lines in general have been reissued in China, and I did get some last year. I mean, I got my Sammy bot for the original Giantron Combiner last year off a Chinese website, and yeah, I managed to get that, and it's the original design, but you know, just made and sold it and repackaged for the Chinese market. So I've found some sellers on AliExpress that are doing what appear to be the original figures, but I'm not 100% sure. They might be KO downsized ones. I mean, they might even be the version T ones. I've been trying to check the measurements on the figures, and the measurements are a bit vague, and I don't think they're the right ones. But I'm gonna give it a go. I mean, when you look at the boxes, the Chinese boxes do have this style of design on them, not the new design. They've got something that looks like this on the Chinese boxes. So I'm going to try getting those Maxbot and Sammybot through the Chinese sellers, and they're quite cheap. They're only about, you know, like 25, 30 something quid, with either free or really cheap postage. So I can get the pair of them for probably about under 65 quid. So that's the price you pay for one of these bots off a Korean site. So yeah, so that's what I'm planning on doing next month. I'm hopefully going to be able to complete the combiner, but there's always a chance that when these figures come in, they're going to be the downsized, undersized versions, and they're not going to be compatible with the bots I've got. So I'll be shit out if that happens. But it's the only option I've got, really. I'm not prepared to pay the outrageous prices that the the G market sellers are asking. No way am I paying that. No way. So with that said, that has been this review. Like I said, the only review on this channel this month. There are reasons for it. Like I said, the other figure I was planning on reviewing didn't arrive in time, so I will be doing that next week. So next week is going to be July the 2nd. So yeah, you've got that to look forward to. So that's been me, TFR Wilderness. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review, and I will catch you all next time. Goodbye.